So here we are again. Here I am, here you are, here we all are. I could turn my camera a little down. Oh, it's fine. So anyway, I have a video for you about fish today because I promised a video about animals. And I started writing down on paper all the animals that I've been acquainted with. I'll put it that way. Some, mostly mine, but sometimes other people's, but that I've known well or something. And anyhow, so as I did that, I realized there were way too many to put into a video. I mean, the video would be 3 or 4 hours long, and nobody wants to listen to me talk that long. I know you might say, oh yeah, that'd be cool. No, you would get tired of hearing it. So if you want to do that, just play all my videos. But anyway, so this first one is going to be about fish. I'm going to do them in increments. There'll be a fish one, there'll be a dog one, a cat one, a wild animal like bears and cougars one, and you know, they'll just be split up like that. So this one's about fish, tropical fish. I had goldfish and I had tropical fish, and I never had saltwater fish. That's a lot of work and a lot of money tied up in them. So I skipped the saltwater. Probably the first fish that I ever had was a goldfish, from what I remember. I don't know. But also when we used to go camping, I went camping with my grandparents. We went up a river that was, it was almost like a creek up where we went, because it was way up towards the upper end of it, up towards the mountains. But we would catch little fish. You know, there'd be little fish fry, like salmon fry and things that were like anywhere from about 2/3 of an inch to about an inch, or maybe 1.5 inches long at the very most. And we would catch those in a cup or something, and we would watch them swim around, and that would be our pet for a couple of hours or something, and we'd go turn it back loose so that it wouldn't die. So we had fish like that, you know, that was the beginnings. So when I got tropical fish, I was a teenager, and I started with tropical fish just because it looked like something fun to do, and I knew people who had tropical fish. And so I had a lot of different fish, and I'm going to tell you a couple of stories about particular fish. But I will tell you, I had a special affinity for oddball fish. First of all, I had guppies, and those were fun because they have live babies. And once you learn how to take care of it so that they don't eat their babies, then it's fun. But when I first had any that were pregnant and had babies, and they turned around and ate them as fast as they had them, I was absolutely traumatized. So I found out you can get these special things for them to give birth in, and the babies fall down through a slot, and the parents can't get to them, and they go into their own little tank and stuff. So I did that, and I had a separate tank for the babies. Once they were all born from that particular female, I'd take out the main tank, the birthing tank thing, and they'd have a whole tank to themselves to grow in and stuff. And that was fun to watch that happen. And so I had guppies, and then I started gravitating to other types of fish. I liked gouramis, which is spelled, it looks like gouramis, but we call them gouramis. Most people pronounce it that way. And different things. And I'm going to show you some pictures of some of those. There were blue gouramis, dwarf gouramis. There's going to be pictures up here somewhere. I've made the pictures. So if I can just put them up here somewhere, I just got to know how to do that. And I'm going to figure it out tonight, I hope. I had, let's see, I'm looking at my list. I had dwarf gouramis and blue gouramis. And I had, okay, those were and I had swordfish at one time. My swordfish, I didn't have them for long. They give live births too, but I think I gave them to a friend that had swordfish because it just wasn't my thing. But I had, oh, I forgot, I had little miniature sharks, black-tailed sharks. And, you know, those kind of fish, none of them are made to be in fish tanks, let's face it. And a lot of the fish that you get at fish stores and everything, they're baby fish. They're tiny baby newborn fish, or they wouldn't be that small enough to put into a tank. So I had black-tailed sharks, and I don't know how big they would get. I did see big ones in big tanks that people had, because fish sometimes will grow according to the room they have in the tank size. But mine were probably about, I have to look through my bifocals here to look at my fingers, probably about 1.5 inches long. I don't think they were 2 inches. I'm trying to go 2 inches. Yeah, they might have gotten to 2 inches. But anyhow, so at one point I decided that I wanted a tank that was just all odd fish, because I started seeing these odd, weird fish in the fish stores. And some of them were, I think the first really odd fish that I got were shamballas. Now that's what we called them. And when I looked them up on the internet to try to see if I could find any pictures that I could use for free and whatever, and started looking, I couldn't find anything called shamballas. But I did find them under clear fish or see-through fish or something like that. And so I had shamballas, and I thought they were so cool because they're so different. You can see right through them, picture somewhere. And then at some point I got blind cave fish, which are kind of pink colored. They have no eyes. They have spots where there should be eyes. It looks like inside maybe there's something that maybe were eyes at one time, or maybe they're trying to grow eyes. But they are from down deep in the ocean, or down deep somewhere, where they live in the dark and they don't need eyes. So I had blind cave fish, had my shamballas, and then I got glass cats. And you'll see a picture up there of those. Oh, and I got a coolie loach, because coolie loaches are kind of like eels. They just, yeah, they do that through the water. And they bury themselves in the sand sometimes and poke their heads out. I had a coolie loach one time that kept getting out of the tank. Because he was so wiggly, he'd go up to the top of the tank, and he'd be wiggling so hard he'd just flip out. So I had to get a cover for my tank to make sure that he didn't flip out. So then I had an angelfish that had a piece missing. I tried to do a picture of that. I don't know if I messed it up or not. So if I have a picture, you'll see it up here. There will be a picture of angelfish, but I don't know if I have one where I tried to, not Photoshop, because I don't have Photoshop, but take a piece out to show you. But he had a big chunk missing, and he was born that way. And a breeder of angelfish and guppies, who was trying to get a black guppy. Now this was back in the 70s, okay? Or maybe the 60s. This was in the 60s. He was trying to breed a totally black guppy, because nobody had, at that point at least. They were part black, but not all black. And he had one that was pretty close, his main studfish, or whatever you want to call it, his main male. And it was pretty close, and he was getting there. But, this angelfish had a piece about the size of I'm looking at my fingers thinking, about the size of a penny, maybe, that just kind of went like this, and it was not the whole thing, it was like a half moon, or like part of a moon, and it just looked like some big fish took a chomp out of him, except it was not uneven or anything, because he was just born that way. It's a defect. But he was growing fine, and he was being fine, and he was doing well. And I thought that was so odd looking. A friend took me to meet this guy to look at his operation and see what he was doing with guppies and all that. He was a friend of hers. So Amy and I went to look at it, and or to see, and it was so amazing. He had so many fish tanks. He had to go under his house and reinforce the floors with big beams to make sure that they would hold up the thousands of gallons of fish tanks he had. Maybe 1,000. I don't know how many gallons, but he had 50-gallon tanks and all these different things. So he really was kind of tired of this angelfish, and he was tired of he was just tired of it. And he said, well, you like it so much, you can have it if you want it. And I said, really? I was all excited. Somebody was giving me a fish. The things, you teenagers, you get excited over things easily. I was probably 16, right around there. So he gave me this fish, and I took it home, put it in one of my tanks. I think that might have been the thing that made me think I wanted to get odd-looking fish, and then I'd seen some of these others. So I had a horse-faced loach He was funny. He would get down under the gravel and you couldn't find him. The coolie loach too. Loaches like to get under the gravel and then you can't find them. And you wonder, where the heck are they? And you start stirring around in the gravel and finally they pop up. Because I would think they got out of the tank or something, or other fish ate them or something. But the horse-faced loach, there'll be a picture up there of him, of one. None of these are pictures of my fish. This was back in the 60s. I didn't really have, we didn't have digital cameras. We didn't take pictures of our fish much. What else did I have? I had, my Plecostomus cat. He was one of my favorites. He'll be up here. They eat algae. And if you put one of those in your tank, you don't ever have to worry about having algae in it. But you wait a little bit. You wait a few days for the algae to start forming. So he'll have something to eat when he goes in there. Because that's what they eat. They live on. And he'll go all around the tank. He's got this sucker face under his chin. He'll go all around the tank. And they're fascinating to watch. But I don't know. This fish had character. And I could put my hand in the water. And he would swim into my hand. And I could pick him up like this, and there's a little bit of water in my hand, I'd pick him up, and then he would sit in my hand for just a few seconds. I didn't keep him out of the water very long, and I'd put him back in, and he'd swim around the tank and go start eating his algae. So there was him, and there was, I'm waiting for that one. I'm waiting for the special one till I get to it. The angelfish, the shamballas, the blind caves, the glass cats. Okay, I want to get to the golden red devil. Now, I had a bunch of goldfish that had gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, and I had put them outside in one of those, I'd made a pond out of those, one of those hard plastic wading pools for kids. It was probably 10 feet across or something, I don't know. And I had made it into a pool for the goldfish. And I had a couple of turtles, not the little red racers that you see, they're illegal now. These were bigger turtles. They probably had backs about 6 inches across, 6 inches from the front to the back. And I don't even know where I got them. I think my grandmother bought them for me somewhere. She's the one that used to buy me pets sometimes. And, or maybe I asked for them. Maybe I saw them and wanted them. I don't know. I don't remember. This is probably back around the same time. Yeah. Just after I had the oddball tank, or when I had it. So I had these goldfish, and I had quite a few. And they were in there, and they started out as what they call feeder fish. They're goldfish. I know it's bad. It sounds sad, but they get them in the fish shops to feed to bigger fish. And so I rescued some. I've always felt like I rescued these feeder fish because they would have gotten eaten. They're only about so long, which is about an inch and a half, maybe a little bigger. And so I picked them out, and the people that work in this pet stores where they have great big huge tanks of these things, they were not real happy about it, because I'd say, I want that one with the black on his fins, or whatever, and they'd be like, well, I'll see if I can catch that one for you. And they would usually do it. Once in a while, if I knew them well, they'd let me do it, because I had the patience because I wanted that certain fish. So I picked out ones that had pretty markings, that just weren't plain gold. And so I got those, and I had them out in the garden, out in this fish pond I made. Well, then I went to a fish store that a lady that I knew, I had grown to know, and we knew each other, and I'd been in there a lot. And she had this gold-colored fish, a yellow fish, and for some reason I fell in love with him at first sight. And I said, what is this? And he wasn't fancy looking. He wasn't like beautiful big fins or anything, but he just caught my eye. She said, that's a golden red devil. She said, and he's mean. You can't put your finger in the tank ever or anything. He'll bite you. And he wasn't that big. He was probably 5 inches, maybe. And then he kept growing. But when I got him, he was probably 5 inches long. Well, I didn't have the money for him, and he was kind of an expensive fish because it wasn't the normal, it was a more exotic fish in a way. So I didn't have the money for him, but I wanted him before somebody else would buy him. So I told her about the goldfish, and I said, are you interested in some pond fish because I really wasn't into them. By that time I had horses and I was more into the horses than anything. And the fish were just a side hobby. And the horses were my passion. So I said, would you like some goldfish? Do you want some pool-sized goldfish? She said, yeah. I explained them to her. I said, would you maybe trade them? She said, well, bring them in and we'll see. So I brought them in to her, and she said, oh, these are great. But then she looked and she says, oh, they've got little white spots on their gills. And that's a disease called ick. And I thought, oh, no. She said, well, that's okay. Ick's easy to cure. You get this stuff. I don't remember what it's called. And you put it in the water and it kills the ick and they're fine. But it's a contagious disease they got from each other or something. And so she traded me the golden red devil for the goldfish. And because they were pretty big, they'd gotten probably 4 or 5 inches long. They were pretty good size. And then she called me up like the next day and she said, guess what? That wasn't ick. She said those were spawning spots. They were beginning to spawn. They were getting ready to spawn in your tank. So I put them in a tank all by themselves and kept them kind of off, where nobody would get around them and everything. But they didn't go ahead and spawn because they'd been disturbed and stuff. But it was kind of neat to know that if I'd have kept them, I'd have had goldfish eggs and maybe baby goldfish. But anyway, so I was excited about that because I felt like I'd taken good care of them and they were healthy and all that. So I got this golden red devil, and you'll have a picture of him up there, of course. This golden red devil was such a character, and this is the last fish story I'm going to tell you. We're going to be done here pretty soon. I can't believe I've been talking 16 minutes already. So this golden red devil, I put him in a 20-gallon tank all by himself. You could not put him with other fish. It didn't matter if it was an Oscar fish that was 3 times or 5 times his size. It didn't matter what it was. He would kill them. He was that vicious of a fish, and he could do it because he was a gangster. So of course that's maybe why I liked him. I don't know. I went for the bad boy, I guess. But anyway, so I would clear out his tank. I would flatten out the bottom, I'm doing this with my hands to show you, but you can't see them because they're down here. But I would flatten out the bottom of his tank with the gravel, smooth it all out. And I had a little sign about this tall that said, people fry Saturday night, or something like that. And then I had another one that said, no peopling, like no fishing, but no peopling. So, yeah, I know, I thought it was very clever. Well, he didn't like signs in his tank. I think I had the fish fry one in a different tank, but I had the no peopling one in his tank because he had such an attitude. So, I had that little sign in there. It was a little plastic white sign with black lettering. And I had plants and rocks and things and, for his decor, for his environment. And I would flatten the rocks all out, and he would go and get a mouthful of gravel and take it up to the front of the tank and spit it out against the glass. So like against the glass so it would fall down. And he just kept doing that all day long. He'd do that. And he'd have a pile at the bottom. It would just pile up and pile up and pile up until he had a pretty good hill there. And and you could see the bottom of the tank behind it because he'd taken all the rocks that he could find, the gravel that he could find, and he'd spit it out up there. And he would do it just in the middle of the tank. But he would have a pretty good sized hill there. And I don't know if he felt like that made him privacy or what. But he would do that. It would take him a day and a half or something, a couple days to get the whole thing done. And I'd leave it that way for a little bit. And then I would go in, and I had a big long stick that was plastic, and it was made for cleaning your tanks and doing things. So I would put that down in there, and I would spread the gravel all out again. And he would get so mad. He would attack the stick, and he would go up to the top and splash around, grab that stick and try to take it away from me. I almost got it a couple of times because he was strong, and he'd hit it. He'd swim at it and grab it and try to keep going. And if I put my finger in the tank, he definitely would bite it because I tried that a few times to see what he would do. He'd get so mad. And he'd go and he'd grab that little sign right by the stick part that sticks up, and he would take off with it, and he'd go around the tank with it, and then he'd spit it out somewhere not anywhere near where it was supposed to be. And he'd do that while I spread out the stuff, and I'd get it all spread out on the bottom, and then I'd leave the room and stuff, and he'd calm down pretty soon, and then he'd start picking up gravel, spitting it out against the side of the glass, and he would do that. And that was our little game, and that's what he did all the time. That was his life's goal, was to piss me off, or I don't know, his life's goal was to have everything his way. So he was funny. I really liked that fish. And so that's about all I'm going to tell you. I think that's about it for fish. There's probably other stories. Oh, I used to have betas too. Once in a while I'd have a beta, Siamese fighting fish, betas, whatever you want to call them. Those are pretty, but you can't put them in. You can put them in a tank with other fish as long as the other fish are not anything that will fight. But you can't put two betas together, two male betas. And if you put a male beta with a female beta and they mate, he will often kill her by accident because he gets so aggressive. And, or maybe kill her by design, I don't know, but the males get really aggressive, and they wrap their bodies around the females and they squeeze them, and sometimes they squeeze too hard. So that's that about the fish. And yeah, so that's it for today, I think. I had a couple other things to tell you, but I think I'm going to save them for future videos because this is getting long and I don't want to bore everybody. And so I just want to tell you that I love y'all and I keep you in my thoughts, and I want to send you good energy. We have energy. We are energy. We not only have energy, we are energy. We are, what do I want to say? Waves. By the way, this necklace, this circle, a couple of people have asked me what it is. Let's see. How can I show it to you? So you can see it's just a circle. It's just a circle. A green circle. A green plastic circle on a piece of stuff that keeps moving. And I've had it for many, many years. And I don't even remember where I got it. But it's what some people might call an anchor. Some people use different things, different medallions or whatever they want for an anchor. And it reminds me, what it does is, I fiddle with it sometimes. It reminds me that I am eternal, like a circle, like the beginning and the end. There is no beginning, there is no end. It's Alpha and Omega together. In zero are all the, if you know about mathematics, you realize that in zero are all the possibilities of all the numbers and all the equations, because you've got the positive side and the negative side, and they counter each other. And you get into Fourier math and different things, and calculus. I don't know much about that because I've never been a math whiz, but I'm learning some things. But anyway, you get into those things and you start finding out that there's a lot to zero. So this reminds me of all those things, and it's my, I can hold on to it, I can touch it. And I've had people ask me, does that mean anything to you? Which is a nice opening for me to tell them what it means to me. So, because I don't go around saying, oh, guess what this is, But anyway, so that's what the circle is for me. And I've always liked curvilinear lines and circles, and I guess that's why. But anyway, so that's it for today, and you all have a great day, have a great week, have a great month, have a great year, have a great forever, have a great everything. So that's it. Sun's out, and I'm going to go out to my garden, which I will give you. I'll do a video on my garden one of these days. But I'm not going to make any I didn't realize that I'm still getting that glare. I'm sitting by the window getting sunlight this time. That's the light I'm doing this by, but I look like I'm doing lasers or something. Anyway, bye. I'll see you next time at Astra.